So I want to show you when I first get to the field and to train my quarterbacks what I do and how I set the field up. So the first thing I do is I put cones down to make 20 yards. So this is the first cone. So that's 5 yards right there, and I'm going to go all the way back to 20 yards. 10 yards. So these 20 yards allow me to do the first drills that I will do with the quarterback, which is dominant drop, non-dominant drop, and swivel hips. I do those drills to make sure that A, their footwork is right, and B, that their balance and posture is right when they drop back. It also acts as a quarterback-specific warm-up, meaning I can get all of the lower body and upper body posture right and lower body warm up right by doing this footwork. Their groin, their glutes, their thighs, I can get that all warmed up by doing these drills first. So I set up a 20-yard cones, and they do these drills, they'll do them down, and then they'll turn around and come back when they do those 3 dominant, non-dominant, and swivel hips drills. This is the first drill that we do when training a quarterback's proper footwork. It's called dominant drop, and what we're doing is giving the quarterback the right shoulder position, head position, and crossover footwork so that when he performs his drop back, either from the gun or under the center, he has the right technique that will allow him to see the whole field. And he has rhythm in his feet that will allow him to throw on time and in rhythm. So let's look at the whole drill first. You notice that he has a slightly open stance, and that's facilitated by having his front shoulder open. Okay, so the whole drill is he's simply going to take his drop back steps. He's going to do this for 20 yards, and he's going to do this in rhythm. So his rhythm should not change as he goes back. So those cones on the side are 5 yards apart, and he's going to go 20 yards. Right? We'll bring him back, and we'll talk about his position before he starts. So the first thing you'll notice is that we want his front shoulder open slightly. So you can see that Anton's front shoulder, this shoulder right here, is open because we can see this pec, okay, or part of the logo on his shirt. And the reason we do that is this front shoulder open allows him just to turn his head and his eyes and see to the left, okay? If his shoulder was closed off and pointing directly at us, he would have to take that front shoulder and turn it in order to throw to the left. And contrary to what most people believe, all right, defenders don't read your eyes. When a quarterback has a face mask on and people are running around him like the offensive line and defensive linemen, they can't see that, but they can see his front shoulder. And wherever this front shoulder is pointing, that's where he's going to throw. So we want him to have a neutral position, which is front shoulder open, so that he can step 6 inches in any direction and get the ball out before his shoulder has given a key to the defenders as to where he's going to throw. Okay? We want the ball to be held on either the back part of his chest or his sternum. We need his arms that are holding the ball and his elbows to be relaxed by his side. If they're out like this in chicken wing position, then basically what's happening is he's pushing the ball in, and that tightens up this pec muscle right here. So we don't want that. Arms hang by the side comfortably. The ball stays in the same place the whole time when he's dropping back. Okay? His toes need to point straight out. And this allows his feet to work and push against the ground horizontally as he goes backward in maximum position. And then we also want to make sure that this head remains perfectly stable. So when you see him go back, you should not see his head move left, right, forward, or backward at all. Okay? The other thing is his shoulders remain perfectly stable. So this preset position when his shoulders are open are what we want him to maintain all the way back. We do not want that ball to be rocking to assist, because that will also rock his shoulders forward and backward. So the ball stays stable, his head stays stable, and he moves his feet in this crossover fashion. He moves them in rhythm. So as he crosses over, it's knee to knee, foot goes down, back foot goes down, and he's basically pedaling his way back. And he's doing that in rhythm. Okay? So we'll go back again and watch how his head stays perfectly stable. So there's no movement left, right, forward, or backward. Watch how his front shoulder stays open the whole way. The ball doesn't move. His feet are in rhythm. And he goes 20 yards. Now, obviously, he'd never go 20 yards in a game. But just like if you were going to train somebody to run the 40-yard dash, we're overtraining this, and we're building core stability in this position, his drop back position, which will allow him to be nice and strong in the quarterback specific drop back position. So we can train his feet to go right, his head to be stable, his shoulder to be stable, to have rhythm in his feet, and we overtrain it by 20 yards. That way, when he drops back with a 3-step, 5-step, or 1-step drop, he's nice and strong because he's been doing it for 20 yards. So I'll show it to you one more time. This is dominant drop drill for 20 yards. Everything's stable. He has rhythm feet. He's going to do it 20 yards. Then he's going to turn around and he's going to come back. So it's 20 yards down and then 20 yards back. And that's dominant drop drill. The second drill in our core stability footwork progression is called non-dominant drill. And it's done the same as the dominant side drop drill, only we're going to turn to the non-throwing side to do the non-dominant drill. And the reason we do that is if we're ever under center, or if we're in the gun and there's a tailback or a running back straight behind us in the pistol set, or possibly in the eye if we're under center, then we have to cross over to be able to get back to hand him the ball off. Particularly like if we were going to do a play action pass and the running back was going to be to the left of a right hand thrower or the right of a left handed thrower, we have to know how to efficiently cross over to the non-dominant side. So that's what this drill teaches us, okay? It has a lot of the same factors. In fact, it has the exact same factors as the dominant side drill. So I'm going to play this so you can see Anton going back on the non-dominant side. He's a right-handed thrower, but you see how comfortable and easy he can move to on his non-dominant side dropping back. Okay? So let's take him back and let's talk about some of the things that we need, positions he needs to be in as he does this drill. The first thing you can see is that the ball is going to be held on the back of the chest or on the sternum, no farther forward, okay? His arms are going to hang comfortably and loose by his sides. He does not want to have his arms pushing or his hands pushing this ball in, because that tightens up his pec and it tightens up his upper body. And we want him to be able to move back freely and comfortably and have a stable upper body, but not a tense upper body. The toes need to point straight to the side, and that assists with him being able to push against the ground horizontally for maximum efficiency as he goes back. We also want to make sure that his head remains perfectly stable. So we don't want his head to go left, right, forward, or backward, because that'll change his center of balance, and it'll cause him to be out of rhythm and out of balance in his posture when he goes back. So the head needs to remain perfectly stable. Okay. The other thing is the shoulders need to be stable. We do not want to rock the shoulders as we go back to use them and to assist us and dropping back. We also want this front shoulder to stay open, okay? This front shoulder open allows him to be able to see all areas of the field with just turning his head. Okay. The defense reads the quarterback's front shoulder as to where he's going to throw, because that shoulder has to turn wherever he's going to throw. And obviously, if this is a right-handed quarterback, he's going to have to turn all the way around to throw to his right to get his back foot in position. But in any case, we want him to keep that front shoulder open as we go back for stability, as well as to give the defense the appearance that he still may be in a position to throw the ball, okay? The other thing that's really important is that we want to move our feet in rhythm. As you watch him go back, notice that he has a rhythm to his feet, that they're not inconsistent in the steps that he's taken in his rhythm, okay? The other thing is you'll notice that his feet always stay under his hips. So we don't want to take big steps as we go back. The reason being at any time that he stops, okay, this back foot may have to pivot to either escape the pocket, or he may have to pivot to turn all the way around to throw as a right-handed thrower. So we always want those feet to remain underneath his hips as he pedals himself for 20 yards in the non-dominant drop, okay? Those are the key coaching points for non-dominant drop. We'll watch him again. Notice that his head is stable, shoulders are open, his feet are in rhythm, his toes are pointing straight out, and the ball does not rock or sway. And that's the non-dominant drill, the second drill in the Core Stability Footwork program. The third drill in our Core Stability Footwork drills is called swivel hips. The first one was dominant drop. The second one was non-dominant drop. And this drill combines both of those. It's also a first footwork drill that we'll do that has an element of escape from the pocket in it. So I'm going to show you the whole drill now, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about the body positions you want to maintain as you do the drill, and then the purpose of the drill. So Anton's going to start back. On a coach's command, he's going to turn to non-dominant. He's going to go back to dominant, and then he's going to run. Okay? Let's do that one more time. He's going to start back dominant. We're going to signal him to turn. He'll turn to non-dominant. He's going to turn back to dominant, and then he's going to run. Okay? So the significance of this drill is we want to make sure, since we already know how to do dominant and non-dominant, that when we hit our back foot, we hit this back foot, we want to turn right around our spine. So what you'll see here is you'll see Anton doesn't make a circle when he turns. He hits his back foot and simply replaces his front shoulder with his back shoulder and goes straight into non-dominant drop. Okay, so we'll go back again. Now he's doing this on a coach's command. In other words, as he starts back, he's going to look at my finger, and then when I point to the other side, he's going to flip his hips, hit your back foot, and turn straight around. Notice how his front foot gets all the way around in that crossover footwork position, and his shoulders remain open the whole time when he does this. His head is nice and stable. He doesn't run a circle. He just turns right around his spine and continues down in the non-dominant position, okay? Then once on my next command, he's going to turn back right on that back foot to dominant drop. And you can see how smoothly his footwork is. Non-dominant to dominant. And then the last command, he's going to turn and run, okay? The way you do this is each of these cones is set up 5 yards apart. So this is 0, 5, 10, 15, and 20. I'm going to turn him every 5 yards. So he's watching me. I'm going to point back. Then I'm going to turn him to his right or his non-dominant. Then at the other 5 yards, I turn him again. And then the second to last cone, I point and he jogs through. I will then walk down to the other end and I'll do the same thing coming back. So he's going to go down this 20-yard area with doing swivel hips, and then he'll turn around and come back another 20 yards. So on all these core stability footwork drills, we always go down and then we come back. So it's really 2 sets of 20. All right? The same positions of his body to do this drill that were in dominant and non-dominant drills are the same. We want the ball held on his back of his chest or his sternum. His toes are pointing out to the side. His head's going to remain nice and stable. His shoulders remain stable. We don't rock the ball, and they're going to be slightly open so that he has a good view of left and right. His feet are going to move in rhythm. He's not going to step outside the framework of his body. So you can see his steps are always right underneath his shoulders. And this allows him to always be in a position to maximize the push against the ground. And it always allows him to be in a position, if he did have to stop and throw, he'd have his back foot right under his armpit to be able to push and get the ball out quickly. Okay? He's turning, as we mentioned, he's turning right around his spine. So we know that he's making a good quick turn with his back foot and turning around his spine. It's like that, right? I do this drill 2 ways. The first way is, as he goes back and I point, I'll say turn. Then the next time I'll point and say turn again. And then the last one I'll say run. Then I also do it as a way to get him used to his eyes and feet working together. In other words, when you play quarterback and you drop back, your eyes tell you what you see and what to do, and then your feet have to respond to that. So I then will do the drill and I won't say any verbal commands. I'll just point and he'll go back and he'll watch my finger. So that gives me an opportunity to see if his eyes and feet can work in harmony, so that when he's actually going to look at defenders and he's going to look at receivers, his feet can respond to what he sees. All right. The other important thing is of this drill that we start to do is we start to develop footwork that will allow him to escape the pocket if he gets a bunch of inside rushers. In other words, if he got rushers that were coming up into this way, he would have to get out of that pocket. And anytime you get out of that pocket, you hit your back foot and you turn. You hit your back foot and you turn to get out of the pocket. So in this particular case, he hit that back foot, and if it was a rusher and he wanted to escape this way, he'd be ready to go. He'd gain ground as he went, and he could escape that way. And then on this foot, if he was on that particular phase of his drop back, he'd hit this back foot and he could escape out of the pocket that way. So that's the other purpose of this swivel hips drill, is we develop really good hips. We develop really good foot movement by going non-dominant, dominant to non-dominant, and then turning and running. But we also give him the footwork to escape the pocket versus inside rushers. So here's swivel hips again. Dominant to non-dominant, back to dominant, and then he's going to run. And as I mentioned earlier, we do that for 20 yards down, turn around, and come back 20 yards. That's the third drill in the core stability quarterback footwork series.